Okay. That's it. Very well. Talk about our agenda. We'll just go through a few items related to tonight's agenda, and then we'll turn the floor over to comment period. As I said, I'm the executive director of the agency, the Broome County Investment Development Agency, and Local Development Corporation, and also the president and CEO of the Greater Bennington Chamber of Commerce. So the purpose of tonight's public hearing is to provide the public an opportunity to comment exactly on the draft scoping document that I mentioned earlier, which informs the content of our draft generic environmental impact statement, or the DGEIS. This tonight is not a Q&A session, really it's our opportunity to hear from you, the community, through a formal public comment period that will be recorded by a stenographer who's here with us this evening. Comments we ask should be specific to the draft scoping document, which will be considered when preparing the final scoping document. So tonight's comments from you, the public, will inform the study work that we do over the next several months, and ultimately the final scoping document that we will provide to our board and to the public. Comments can also be provided in writing, via mail or email through September 24th, 2024. And all comments are considered equally, whether provided at this hearing or submitted at a later date in writing. So again, a little bit about us. The Broome County Industrial Development Agency and the Broome County Local Development Corporation was established in 1970 to create a vibrant economic future for the residents of Broome County. Our mission has been and always will be to deliver economic benefits to enhance the Broome County economy through increased economic activity, job creation, and the development of sites. We have brought on, I think, a very strong and solid technical team to support us through this next important and critical stage of really developing the content and the design for the proposed Broome Tech Park. That includes experts in planning and seeker, architecture and engineering, the sustainability, water and soil engineering, as well as traffic and transportation engineering. The seeker process and scoping will be overview will be provided by Lisa Nagel, planning practice leader and project leader for this for Tech Park from BDR.
Thanks, good evening, everyone. Lisa Nagel with BDR, and we're overseeing the development of the GEIS. We are very quickly why we're here tonight. This is the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act process, or CEQR, SEQRA. We have, it's a long process. The red circle on the screen is where we are this evening, which is what we're calling scoping document. It's really the very beginning of the process where we're identifying all of the matters that we're going to be studying over the coming months ahead of us. And you can see that there's a lot of steps yet ahead of us to do through this process. So just to focus on tonight in the scoping process. Scoping is developed by in the CEQR process where we address we identify issues to be addressed in the GEIS. I was explaining earlier, some of this is sort of like a table of contents, if you will. What is it that we should be looking at through this process? Primary goals are to focus on relevant topics, to identify the quality and the quantity of information, and provide with an opportunity for you to participate in identifying these topics, which is why we are here tonight. If you've seen the draft scoping document, it is online at the agency's website. There's also hard copies available in their office. I'm not going to go through all of these, but in that there is a draft scoping document that we're asking your comments on this evening, and these are all the aspects that we will be analyzing over the many months in front of us. And you can look at this list, and these are the things. So our question to you: is there anything else you can add onto this list? What are these? Is there anything else you feel should be added or emphasized as we do this? Stacey alluded to the scoping timeline. We are asking for comments this evening, and by writing either written comments or email comments. will be accepted until the 24th of September. Our team will take all of that information and finalize the scope. And that final scope will be released in October, on October 17th. Then that sets our table of contents to go for what we're analyzing going forward. So the very beginning, and this is why the purpose of the better here tonight. With the public comment period, we're going to open it up to the floor. Just so everybody has a chance to provide comments. We will ask if you would like to speak, if you should sign in on the back, and there's a check mark if you'd like to speak. I recognize a lot of cases we open houses here. We already have it on our list. There's another way that we can inform about coming these, if we could sign in. There are also handouts. One of them looks like it's building process on the back. How are you going to do this? Please sign in to speak. We'll give each speaker 3 minutes. You can come up for 3 minutes. Give the next person go. We'd like to let others go and back up for another 3 minutes. That's allowed to do that. When we're going to ask you to come to this podium, we move the computer out of the way. When you are here, you're going to see a light, which is up to my left. And it's a green light. We'll start. The yellow light is we have 30 seconds to finish, and then the red light is the end of the 3 minutes. I'm going to split the screen here in a minute as well, so we'll see the countdown 3 minutes with these rules on the left-hand side and countdown on the right. We have a stenographer here this evening who's recording all the comments for us. We also have hearing Jared over on the other side. If you need to move closer, feel free to be able to see. We're asking everybody to be concise. And tonight we're talking about the scoping document only, and as Stacey said, it says in the Q&A, it was during the public hearing, you're hearing you and accepting your comments. All right. So,
Smart camera.
so I attempt to MC and some Stacey and Frank at the table to help us with this. Hold on.
You return them if they have a new comment that has been made before.
If you do come up this side and come this way, there's a balcony with a speaker over shot there. Good court.
We have the list of people that sign.
Sign, oh,
Yes.
do you have the sign in sheet?
No, I don't.
We're just grabbing the sign-in sheet off the back and then we'll get started.
You want to give Mr. Beasto a chance to speak first? You know he wants to talk.
Sure. Brendan, would you?
Brendan, do you want to start off?
I know you signed in.
We know you want to comment.
You could be our guinea pig with the light.
Yes, we're not that.
Further Vice Track 1601 Airport Road. Having a lot of questions.
Hold the lines up on your, there you
You're not?
Yeah.
All right, so Further Vice Track 1601 Airport Road, lifelong resident, Brooklyn Valley. I've submitted many documents to the IDA, the town of Maine, this time, some of the history, relevant facts. One of the things that I got to purchase is the environmental. I know you've done a phase 1 environmental site assessment. I don't see that listed in your table of contents to be added to this. I know some phase 2 work was done. Your consultants indicated there are no recognized concerns. I know DEC came out after a phone call, did some investigation. There was soil testing. Some of your comments in the scoping talked about your environmental benefits. So I'm just curious, is there a commitment from the IDA to actually go in, do some soil testing in the orchard, determine if there's any impacts from pesticides that are snakes in there? 70, 80 years. There's a large farm done on the property. There's still the lake tanks there. There's a historical the well that fed the orchard. And then even on the Hall property, I believe on Saraceno's, there's a large farm up there that's been dumped into a ravine And just curious, is the IDA gonna make some level of effort to do soil testing and, remediate, clean up those dump areas? Other than that, like, so change, just a lot of comments on the traffic, obviously an airport road, safety with the hillsides, steep slopes, shallow bedrock. I think it's gonna be an extreme challenge to get a safe road down to airport road. And, I realize that's gonna be kind of one of your greatest challenges. Alternatives, I'd love to see, in the alternative analysis, something built out in the appendices. I think Stacy had put in some of the article that they looked at over 200 properties early on. And just curious if that can be incorporated somehow into this, of all the alternatives that have been reviewed. I'd really like to see the airport actually viewed as a serious possible close the airport and redevelop that. Some of the reasoning there, it's 890 acres, the county owns it, it's in the industrial zoning district. The county owns and operates a legal water main, portable water supply, and a sewer to the airport. And meets the town's comprehensive plan. And the airport's dying. I mean, there's basically no flight traffic in or out of the airport. You're down to less than 12,000 people. Just full. I know they forecast to have over 130,000 people a year flying through the airport. But with that.
Thanks, Brandon.
Thanks, Steve.
There's a question mark. Oh, well, that's Brendan. Ellen?
Yeah,
Yeah, I know you put a question mark, but I.
I wasn't sure. how to
Okay.
type that.
Watch the wires, please.
Four. I'm curious, first of all, why I don't see any advertisement about this meeting in the news, in the press, or anything about it. The only place I could find advertised about this meeting to educate us, the public, that is concerned about this, is on your website. It's not on ours, it's not on the town of Union, it's not in the press, and it's not on the news channels. I'm curious about why it's secretive.
We're not answering questions tonight, so if you have a comment.
Yeah, talking to.
Right,
Thank you,
yeah, yeah.
thank you. I just felt my glasses as well.
Oh. I have a pair just like that.
So I read something on the IDA site about tax incentives being offered to whomever might be partaking in this. And my curiosity lies within EMS, particularly the police, the fire department, anything that's of emergency. Because my understanding as a taxpayer, the taxpayers pay that. And they have tax incentives. I'm thinking we, the people that don't want it in town of Maine, are paying for what we don't want. So that's a question that may be answered on the website someday. The town of Maine, to my knowledge, has at least 3 times voted in our town's comprehensive plan, excuse me, that we want to protect our environment, our natural resources, and be protective of our area. I personally believe, and it's that on many boards that, I can speak for many town residents, that we don't want the county telling the town what to do. We would like to be invited at least. And we haven't been, to my knowledge. I was at the open house at the Jason High School, and it was a scandal leave. We were told it was an industrial park, and when we got there, oh, it was gonna be 24/7, it was gonna have apartments, it was gonna have this, it was gonna have restaurants, all these different things. That had nothing to do with an industrial park, nothing, maybe a 5%. It seems like a scam. I don't know, just being educated about them, you know, being in the town, being in the county, being in the state of New York, it seems like we could do better with the homework. Let's see what else we have. We also, the town of Maine, we have home rule.
some of you guys don't know that, that really protects a lot of our residents, all of our residents in the town of Maine. It doesn't protect the town of Union, they get to vote for themselves, but the town of Maine, we voted and we have home rule. So that's a problem for you guys. Areas of concern.
Ellen, your 3 minutes is up.
Anybody want to lose my nose?
We'll let Ellen
Well-
speak and then if you want to come back up, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that went quick.
Thank you. I didn't. No. I also, Teresa, there's a question mark.
I'm Teresa Conley. I don't really know much about this. As Ellen has said, you just find a little bit here and there, and it seems like you're overriding the town of Maine residents. And it doesn't seem right, and it doesn't seem fair. But I have some suggestions. The topics identified are 17 topics. So there's a good way to involve people in the town of Maine in fact gathering and decision making. So that a team, as you say, a team doesn't just make that decision. It should be many more people making the decision based on the information found. And that would give people work to do to discover and dig into things. These topics are just kind of there, and then you're gonna say, well, this is what it was. But we all don't know what it is. We need to know. So I suggest involving residents who are interested in finding out these things. So, I saw some other thing, you talked about cultural, resources. You know, I also, am the president of St. Stanislaus Costa Cemetery Board of Directors. And we look over on that hillside, that we can tell when there's things happening that shouldn't be happening, but were happening, but now are stopped for now. So just remember that cemetery's there. It's active, noise matters, noise on Airport Road matters. We have services there, gravesite services usually. Please know that the cemetery is there, it's going to be there. And it's really important. So whatever you do, take that into consideration with all these other topics. And I still say, involve the town of Maine residents in the fact finding and come up with the conclusions, not yourselves, don't live in the town of Maine.
Susan?
Hmm.
Hi, my name is Susan Cohen, I live on East Main Road in town Maine. Just piggybacking on what some of our residents have already said, from the get-go, we've been, as I know, I and neighbors and residents in the town of Maine have felt bullied into this industrial park, tech park, field of dreams. And I had asked in discussion with the IDA at the last presentation that they would provide all the other properties that they had looked at that were rejected for whatever reasons. And show us the actual need for such a large scale park. That has not come forward. I think that's really lacking on their part. Because from my perspective, we moved to the town meeting 25 years ago because of the rural. And I think that's the primary nature of the entire town. And the town has been very diligent in preparing their own comprehensive plan, that they have a vision for what should happen in town Maine. They have identified areas that are zoned industrial, that they would love to be developed, to bring jobs into the community. Fully support that. But instead, the IDA has kind of looked at the maps and pointed a finger at a very rural mountain where everyone's on well water, septic systems, and it just feels very bullying. I'm wearing a shirt that says no eminent domain. They have threatened as much as they say they haven't. We have the letters that show it, that they're bullying property owners to sell. And I just don't think that's right, because this will essentially be a private entity. Eminent domain should, by nature, is for the development for public use, roadways and things like that. And I think they're not being honest when they look at Airport Road, where they want to put this park. It's a 2-lane road, houses nestled right up to the roadway. I think, they would be able to throw their hands up and say, DOT said, we have to widen the road, and oh goodness, now there's more need and threats to them in the domain. Again, I'm all for, and I believe my community is all for the creation of jobs and the creation
Susan.
of business.
The next persons are, thank you, Susan, for your comments, but, again, what will be very helpful for us tonight is if there is something within this document that you would like us to focus on. So please let us know that, and the scoping document, that's what we're here to discover this evening. What's that? Well, so, Art,
It's that zoning that the people.
okay, you'll have to come up and speak, okay? Please. We have a system tonight. Art Robinson?
Is I not there?
Which, I was just going
We're
down.
just going in order of who checked.
If you didn't check, I didn't come.
Oh, did you check?
But you can go right after him.
Okay.
Which
The
one?
name?
Can you just tell me which one?
I thought it was right.
No, we'll just check, yeah, there you go, you're right after Art.
Donna, is that it?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, Art. All right, please, next speaker.
Well, my name is Art Robinson. I'm a current councilman with Town of Maine. I'm also a 5th generation Town of Maine resident, and I also served on a town's comprehensive plan update committee a few years ago. One of the things specific to your scoping document, I want to address is zoning. The fact that this is an industrial development placed in a rural residential zoning district is a violation of zoning laws. It's also a violation of the comprehensive plan. And, in order for that to happen, we would have to rezone the property industrial, and that would be a violation of state law. You cannot do spot zoning, it's illegal. The residents here, many of our residents received, letters with the intention to notify them of the potential for eminent domain on this project. We feel, or actually specifically myself, I feel that that's, something that needs to be addressed here. your scoping document, that, we do have lands that are zoned industrial, that we would love to have a conversation with you guys on potentially putting some type of development there, but the city specifically chose the parcel of land in the town of Maine that you supposedly spent $150,000 to study, and you come up with 300-acre development that ironically is owned by a former executive director of the IDA. That in itself doesn't sound good. The town board has requested certain documentation for transparency that we still to this day have not received. At your event at Genesee High School on August 8th, I spoke to Stacy, and we had a great conversation. And one of the things I asked is, listen, when you're done with this engineering, when you're spending $500,000 of taxpayer money, and you come to the town of Maine for rezoning and say, no, what are you gonna do? And I was told he would go away. So again, when you said that, I was surprised. I'm like, okay, I'd like to see that writing. I still have not seen that writing. I think there could be room for development in appropriate places, and we'd like to discuss that in the future. But right now, this is not a location. Thank you very much.
Donna.
Sounds like someone's on it for real.
My name is Anna Regis, 58 Road. My concern is, I want to know how much you think it's gonna cost to level that hill to get truck traffic someone's down. I don't know what kind of budget you have, ended budget, you know, limit. Because it is not gonna be cheap to level that off, get all that stuff out, get all the roads in, and once you do, I know my property's gonna have to go, because you can't go across the street because it goes down a hill, so then you start taking our property, it's gonna have to go to a 4-lane highway. You're gonna have to turn. And I just wanna know how much money you think, I have no idea what it's gonna cost. I just told you what it's gonna cost, and I don't know what's in your budget, but if it's my tax money, I'm a bit upset at what it's gonna cost. You could have picked other sites that are a lot flatter, a lot better. You didn't have to pick that one. That's my concern.
Thank you.
Carrie? If I say someone's name wrong, please let me know. I'm not doing last names because I don't.
Hi, I'm a resident of East Main Road, name is Terry Hector. I don't think I'm
That's it.
very good. But I have your agenda here,
Mhm.
and the number one thing is land use, zoning, and community character. Now, I had a meeting with the zoning and, code officer, probably 6 days ago, and I asked him, what have you got with that? And he said, not one thing. This is really hard to believe, nothing. To keep them. The other thing is when I went to the other, it's a. I was just really angered being a property owner, that's like buy there, or being friends of someone who gets this, a domain letter, that you're asking people to put stickers is, do you want a movie theater on your land? Can we take it? Do you want a cidery on it? It's just. There's no attempt to take anybody in this whole process.
make it a little easier on somebody, or show some respect.
Charles? Charles?
Yes, yes.
Wait, yes. That one I can pronounce.
All right. Early wage, I don't know, I really have a skin to stir this pot, but I live in the town of Union, town of Maine, Brook, both. Family's been residents there for about 100 years.
Excuse me, sir, can you speak a little closer to the microphone?
And, I just don't want to see anything happen that can't be reversed. I heard Stacy on the news tonight say that's underutilized land. What's underutilized about open space? Those places that I've worked the last 30, 40 years, professional forester and research environmental attorney. They value open space, they're looking to keep open space. Seems like there's more appropriate areas to this. 30 years ago, when I was on the environmental management council of the county, a lot of the discussion was that the landfills filling up. What happens to the waste on this thing? I haven't had time to review this document yet. I got about 11 questions, but I'll probably handle those myself. The open space, the Eastern Meadowsville Forest, as it functions in its natural state, can support 10 to 15 deer per square mile. Right now, in the Eastern Meadowsville, which this is a part of,
Speaking.
Eastern Meadowsville.
Thank you.
Meadowsville Forest.
to the mic, I'm having trouble hearing you.
Okay.
Thank you.
In Eastern Meadowsville Forest, it's for about 10 to 15 deer per square mile, that's 640 acres. They're taking up a large percentage of that 640 acres, when we do about 90 to 100 deer being displaced on that property. I haven't had a chance to review the study, but there's gotta be wetlands on that much area, somewhere's on that hill. What's gonna be the property values? And, present land, property values and present land use. It's not agriculture for the most part, but it's open space. The Eastern Meadowsville Forest, on a ratio of land acres to photosynthetic acres. We're talking about carbon sequestration now. As for the operate, be fully stocked, and fully stocked stand, Eastern Meadowsville Forest, it's a ratio of 20 acres of photosynthetic area to 1 acre property land area. What's the ratio on this going to be? How much you're reducing the photosynthetic area of this property? What's its ability to sequestrate carbon that we reduce? That all looks right now. Okay.
Bob,
Where's Bob?
let's see, Bob, come in.
No,
Bob here?
Bob's here.
Better?
Bob Utter's
Yeah.
here. He was here.
Right there.
There he is.
No, I checked it or not.
You did.
We would check it for you, Bob. Just,
I knew Stacy would look out for me, you know, I'm always involved.
I just said Bob, I knew it was Bob.
Bob Leonard, I'm a resident on Airport Road, long-time resident, I grew up on that area. I probably spent a lot of my childhood on all these properties that they're looking to, take over. Brandon's father and I, and my father, and we all grew up together, so we know the properties. There are a lot of environmental issues need to be addressed. Technology nowadays is such, amazing that you can find anything on the internet. But the problem we have with records from 50 or 60 years ago at someplace like the, health department to document, an town because of arsenic and, pesticides, is like finding a needle in a giant haystack. The odds of us finding any paperwork to prove that at some point in time are probably pretty low, but there are a number of environmental issues on that property. We forwarded, pictures, the news stations have pictures of all the 55-gallon drums that are littered over the property. The fuel tanks that are empty and sprawled over the property. There are farm dumps, again, when we go out, every farm had a dump. Obviously, they're not, environmentally a problem, but an apple orchard that had issues that was closed down. I mean, I have a gentleman here in the audience tonight with Bausch and tell you that he can remember some spraying chemicals on the apple orchard, when he was a kid. Lead and arsenic don't disappear in the soil. This should be something that's a priority, something that you tested for. Because it becomes a problem once they start digging and everything becomes terrible. Other than that, it's just been a fairy tale. I mean, there's been no transparency. People, I'm glad to see as many people here tonight as there are. I wish there were 3 times as many people. There is no transparency. There's no information. There's no newspaper. There's nobody out there telling you what's going on. Again, anybody that knows me, they know how to find me. I've been fighting this and chasing this for the last 20+ months. I'll be glad to answer any questions about any information, and if I give you some information, I probably have a full document to prove it. Stacy, I don't know what to tell you where our dots together here, and you think it's great, and I don't think it's great, but I'm hoping your architects, did they finally get up on the property? CJS, did they get up on the property? I did offer to take them up there because
Thanks.
I don't think they have the ability to figure it out.
Thanks. Olenda?
London.
I'm Olenda, vice chair. I grew up in Fort Broome and raised in about first practice environment in the football. My brother Brian, he got the last of my father's name. And he built a new cabin in Cons. Main person that they got land from is one person, but there's several people who have land. And the person that bought my father's house and all the land. Bought it, so him, his family, his father, his partner. But that's one of the people who got the letter. They did not want to sell it. They bought that property. They had young kids. There's a critter there. So my father tried to put this, the town name has always been where people, they moved there to be rural, and they don't want businesses, and the traffic always been there. Since I grew up there, we had dogs run over different people's feet, then they built landfill. There's trucks going up there 65 miles an hour. I was right on the dump. Well, in the county, I live in the county, and my house project is gonna go down. The nice part of Airport Boulevard, I have a house, is the backyard is nice. Traffic always gonna be. There is no one monitoring the traffic. I'm talking about state police, state troopers. I guess state troopers too. There's motorcycles that go 7 miles an hour up in here. They're doing that on East Main Road also. And people do not monitor those roads to stop there. There's been people who got killed on the Court Road, they built the dome, they haven't done anything to keep that traffic. They said there's Lower Stella, Middle Stella, their Court Road. And they said all the people from the dome are going to go on the road. They don't go on the road. The the cemetery is what they have, the lady. That cemetery is very well kept, it's a big cemetery. And they didn't want to go in when they first talked about this years and a half ago, in that area. And there's other people I grew up with, and Bob and everybody. I lived on it before, I lived in that. They say they have to have 4 lanes. There's no way they can have 4 lanes, when they take crossing, and take cemetery. So, you know, there's a lot of things going on, and people who don't go to the town meeting or the town meetings don't know what's going on. And like they said, Bob spent a lot of time on the internet, he's retired, he can do it. There's people that work, my brother comes down in Rochester, because nobody knows what's going on, unless we go to meetings and we ask questions. There's people on the town main board, they're putting all their free time coming to all these meetings, so.
Thank you.
Okay.
And Doug? Bossman, Doug?
I know that in the town of Maine, I live in Bethlehem, we had a similar thing this month with one hill, project. We were interested, but it's still going on, and somebody's done it. My concern about the technology part is that I see too many times when people really come here to say, we don't want them, we don't want them. They're worried about their homes, worried about their land, I understand that. I've also seen letters from, or a letter from Stacy saying that, you know, we give you so much money and stuff, and your neighbors are probably excited. That's, I hope eminent domain never happens. I really don't want to see that. I wonder, I also, I was at the, kickoff meeting, couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago or so. And there was a concern about, the fact that the 500 or 600 acres, some of it was really not usable for businesses. I can understand that, but I wonder how much of it is not. I also wonder what agricultural processing means. Does that mean slaughterhouse? That be all, and what does that see that? And the other thing is there's, life sciences, I guess I can follow the fact from what I understand a little bit up. But, I think, message that it's been good at the meetings, good to hear feedback from people. I'm with the Sierra Club, and we're anti this park. Thank you.
That's the list of people who put a check that wanted to speak. So are there any others that would like to come up and speak on the scoping document to provide comments on what we should be studying as we go forward? Just state your name, please, if you haven't signed in. Thank you.
From what I'm gathering, the biggest problem here is communication. We had a solar company come in, and planning to put some solar technology in. And they were very, very comprehensive. They talked to people, they had answered the questions directly, you didn't have to put it on a post-it note, give it to you. And then it's make it circular. This is the second, third meeting I've done with you, and I still haven't seen anything. Nobody can ask you a direct question to get the right answer. It's too secret. Not working with the people. I don't have this plan, and what I understand is that I'm really over 10 years. In the works, so. I don't know if people are just wasting time, hoping for the best, but. I guess my plan for the worst. Big government's gonna run us over. Town Maine did their best, they tried real hard to stop it, said they were gonna rezone.
hopefully the town meeting, or town meeting will do the same. Still working on that one. My property's gonna be right next to the main entrance there. And I'm not happy, I moved up there for use of tranquility, and now I'm gonna have trucks and cars and everything else going in and out the backside of my property. And also concerns is the gas main runs up there, that's already blown up once from, vibration and leaks. I don't know how much of that they've actually fixed or replaced. But now you're gonna be going in and running equipment over it. So that's a concern. Biggest thing is, you gotta communicate with people, you gotta work with it. I mean, people go, we're understanding what the solar company is, that's all our question, they even went over and above to help concerns. So maybe you guys should contact that solar company and see how they did it and work on it. That's it. Everybody does it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else, that would like to speak?
For retake or first time?
We can do a retake. Let's just make sure anybody else who hasn't spoken yet. Go ahead. Then if nobody else. No, we do have one, and then you can go. Hi.
I didn't sign up to speak, I don't like to speak at all. I'm busy, I grew up on the same road when I was younger. I'm not living up here anymore, but it's about a point. I am extremely upset right now with what I'm hearing, and your definition of technology is not in a 15-minute city, especially within a movie theater. And asking people, taking their property away from them to make small space. I don't know the website, but believe me, I have been researching it and probably as it goes. And
Oh, that'd be great. Is it Ellen?
Yes.
Anybody else? We give Ellen a second go at her another 3 minutes.
It's good.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So we're talking about before, there's an interchange of other areas that might be acceptable to an industrial park. The best example, in my opinion, would be the Endicott site that they're ripping down at IBM. It's already industrial, so that way it just makes perfect sense, but there's so many logical verses that you need to think about it. When we were at Casey High School demonstration from you all, you alluded to exactly what our last speaker just said. You have no clue what you want to make. It goes from like almost Candyland to who knows what, apartments and cinemas and 24/7, whatever, stores and things. That is not what the town of Maine residents did our comprehensive plan about. We did it for what we want to live with and how we want to live. Pure and simple. I know you're not going to answer this question, but my personality is going to ask me to ask it. So I'm wondering if the public responds to your website today and puts their comments on, how do the rest of us get to hear their comments? Do we get to read them? Do you have a meeting and tell us about them? Do you send out those comments to people that are on your site? Do we ever get to hear, or is this another secretive paragraph of this committee? I'm curious. And I think I had one other thing in my mind. Oh, and do you think that thank you for being in the media and publicizing this, do you think other media channels will be invited to come? to cover this? I'd like to see. I'm wondering if other media channels will be able to cover this as well, because I don't see any media coverage about this whatsoever. Gonna be solved. All right, thank you.
You want?
Yeah, so, maybe we can.
I think he wanted to speak.
oh,
Do you want
he's
to
letting-
speak?
No, he's letting go.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, Brendan.
Brendan, you want to add a couple? I can go on.
So I do have a couple of questions, maybe, just all the infrastructure requirements and the depth that these studies are gonna go into. Maybe first with sanitary sewers, I'll put some drawings together and submitted. There's 450 feet of grade change, there's 4 major different drainage paths. So it's handling all of your waste, and again, without having an idea of what you're gonna build in the park, trying to identify, the capacity that the treatment plant's gonna need. Your original studies mapping had about 2.4 million square feet of space proposed for this. At that point, industrial park, corporate park, business park, tech park. So that's a large footprint. And from that, I'm just curious how you calculate sewers and the type of sewage that will be generated. How that will be conveyed to the joint Johnson City Treatment Works. And then in the study, if you're gonna propose 2 million square feet, is that gonna take that capacity out of the plant and further restrict any development in Johnson City or Binghamton in that service area? So that would be a direct impact, should be addressed in the studies. Water is the same way, again, Broome County ran a water main up the road, east of small residents. Never been allowed to have any title, it's never been dedicated, the district was never created, so there's no benefit to the residents that gave easements for that water main. Gas, just curious, this is supposed to be a new, sustainably focused, green, prototype technology park. Are you waiving out any fossil fuel usage? Are you saying there's no natural gas service, need like climate goals and all that? Are you gonna stay all electric? I'm not certain nice as really concerned. Is there a franchise area? So if there's a gas main through there, there's actually 6 historical gas mains through that area, Millennium. There's an A5 line, and then there's the original Rockefeller lines. They're all, through that parcel. So again, that's part of the historical research. And maybe the last one was just on electric. At the open house, I did ask the RGB representatives there about the future. And I just laughed that there's really no capacity. And the part of Seeker, brings aware, like the Genesee County, the sand project, that large industrial park, about 1,000 acres. Being built, and then there's an inability to serve it. They actually come back through and do an art tenant to actually bring the power. Plug out to actually be able to even start that facility up. I'm just curious if that would be segmentation of just making certain studies, look at all of the energy needs, build out whatever this master plan is. And again, what are the impacts on the rest of the, can we still use the treatment plant? Will there be water available? Electric, gas. Those would be some of the major ones. Maybe a second question is, all of the agencies you identified, there's no federal agencies listed. So just curious, I know obviously the airport, FAA. Well, you have to go through the federal process, the legal
Well,
process.
yeah, that's to be fair.
You did a better job.
No, I'm being fair to everybody.
He will.
Yeah.
Oh.
Thank you, Brendan.
So,
You want me to-
one more time, Frank was gonna, go through the process for everybody and where we are and what our next steps are, but is there anybody else who would like to speak?
Brendan, thank you for those comments, they're very good, and you all, Brendan, also have the opportunity, like you all will, to provide written comments regarding the draft scope guideline, and I'm sure Brendan will take that opportunity to submit such comments. That concludes the public hearing for the draft scope guideline. As Lisa earlier said, that's the very preliminary stage in this entire secret review process. What will happen next is all these comments, those that are relevant to the draft scope document, And those that we kind of pulled from just your general statements that we think we can include also to be assessed in the GIS and the draft overlay. That will all be taken, and then there will be a final scoping document prepared and accepted by the lead agency, the IDA here. The next step there is they will prepare a draft generic environmental impact statement. And that is really where the rubber meets the road. That will be where there will be a comprehensive, substantial assessment of all the potential significant adverse environmental impacts that this plan may present. That draft will be prepared, accepted by the IDA, and then there will be another public hearing. And that draft environmental, I should say, the generic environmental impact statement will be posted on the website. It will be made available at the IDA's offices. Copies of it will be distributed to all the involved interested agencies that are participating in this process. And once that's done, there will be another public hearing and another public comment period by which you can submit additional further comments after you had a chance to review the actual assessment of those impacts in that document. What will then happen is after that public comment period and public hearing is completed, there will be a final generic environmental impact statement prepared. And that will be contained in that final generic impact statement is what's called responsiveness. And that summary will list out all the comments that have been provided by the public and the involved interested agency and the responses that the project team and the IDA will be making to those comments. There may be as a result of those comments some changes made to the GIS and stuff, and what will then grow out of all that are mitigation measures that are proposed to mitigate those. But I think it's important for you all to understand that there will be another opportunity. You may have been somewhat frustrated by the lack of information inside, because this document is not intended to be environmental impact statement. It's intended to be an outline, and like Lisa said, a table of comments. And it's providing, hey, here are the things we're thinking about assessing in the GIS. We want to hear from you whether there's more stuff that we should review and assess. And you've done it. And so I think once you get into the GIS process and you see the draft generic environmental impact statement, and you will also be able to see the final one too. That's where you'll see the real analysis, and you'll be provided another opportunity to comment and provide input on that analysis. So again, this is a very preliminary stage and stuff. We appreciate you coming here tonight. We appreciate you providing your